Hello and welcome to this GCSE Foundation Level Lesson 11.3, looking at triangles. So we begin our lesson today looking at our prior knowledge, using our knowledge of areas of rectangles and areas of compound shapes to do the following do now task. I would copy the diagram down, look at the information, pause the video and see if you can work your way through it. Okay, if you've managed to work your way through it, you might have done it like me. I've said it's made up of 5 squares, so each square's area is 80 centimetres squared divided by 5, which gives me 16 centimetres squared. So the length of the square must be 4 centimetres. 4 is the square root of 16, because 4 times 4 is 16. So then I might have put a 4 all the way around the edge and followed my finger all the way around, like I would have done before. Alternatively, if I did that and worked my way around, there'd actually be 12 of those edges on the outside. So the perimeter of the cross is 12 times 4, which is 48 centimetres. Notice we were measuring originally area in centimetres squared, and of course our perimeter is in centimetres. Okay, so onward to our new learning. Right, so bronze, use the formula to find the area of a right angle triangle. Silver, use the formula to find the area of a non-right angle triangle, and then gold, as we had before, find the area of compound shapes that include triangles. And if you think about what we did in lesson 2 on compound shapes, you might have 1 or 2 ideas already. Okay, so let's have a look. What's the same, what's different? What's the same? Well, we've got, I'll say, a blue section in each one. They're all rectangles. What's different? The third one is split into 2 triangles, and that might give us a clue as to how we work out the area of a triangle in a minute. So let's see. Okay, so what's the area of triangle A? Well, think about how the triangle is compared to the rectangle. How would you use the area of the rectangle to help work out the area of the triangle? Well, we've already talked about it. The area of the triangle is clearly half the area of the rectangle. Okay? That looks pretty obvious to me. Let's move on. Right, this is the formal formula for the area of a triangle. Area of a triangle with a nice diagram in your book is a half times the base times the perpendicular height. Perpendicular height means measured at right angles. See that right angle symbol, 90 degrees inside the shape. Okay, so that definitely needs copying into your exercise book. The title, the diagram, a nice clear diagram, and the formula. Pause the video while you do that. Okay, make some notes as we go through. There's a diagram, you don't have to draw it full size. Let's see how we work out the area. So this is thinking about it going back as a rectangle. You don't need to do that if you don't wish to. The area of the triangle is a half times the base times the height. I always write that out in every example because it helps me remember. You need to learn your formulas, so let's learn them as we go along. So the base is 6, the height is 4, so we get a half of 24. Half times 24 is the same as half of 24, which is 12 centimetres squared. Okay, you might want to pause the video and copy that one into your book. Okay, moving on, here's example 2. This is a silver one because there's no right angle inside the triangle. But can you see that that 7 centimetres is measured perpendicular to the 5? It's as though there's a right angle in it. Again, this shows us that it's going to be half the rectangle. But let's look at our formula. Write the formula down every single time. A half times the base times the height, which is a half times 5 times 7, half of 35, which is 17.5 centimetres squared. You might want to write that one in your book as well. Pause the video if you do so. Okay, here's a standard example. Notice the triangle, this is a bronze one because it's got a right angle in it. So the area is half times the base times the height. the base and the height must be at right angles to each other, even though they're sort of not on the bottom of the shape as we are looking at it. So the base might be 5 and the height is 12, which gives you half of 60, which is 30 centimetres squared. Again, that might be another one that you want to copy into your exercise book. Having lots of examples in your book to show you what you do is always advantageous. Make sure you get the right units. Okay, so here's a non-standard example. This has got more length on it, but we're still going to use the same formula. The area of the triangle is a half times the base times the height. That little right angle in the diagram is a big clue, because that's going to point us to which of those is the height. I think everyone's comfortable with the base being 12. Which of those is the height? It's got to be measured at right angles, so therefore the height must be the 5. So it's a half of 12 times 5. You can work out the half of 12 first as 6, and 6 times 5 is 30. Or, as we seem to have been doing, you've got 12 times 5 is 60, and half of 60 is 30 metres squared this time. Okay, again, you might want to copy that one in your book as a non-standard example. Notice we haven't used the 13 metres or the 4 metres. I think that's got to be bigger than the 5. So but we haven't used those measurements at all. In maths parlance, we call that redundant information. And yes, they do include those things on your exam. So let's learn how to deal with them. Ignore them. Okay, so moving on. Oh, great. Copy each diagram into your book, pause the video, and work through them. Make sure you write down the formula every time so you get to learn it. Okay, here we are again. Hopefully those are the correct areas. Pause the video while you work through them. Check things carefully that I've not made any mistakes, that I've not made any mistakes with the wrong units, because I do that from time to time, as you would have probably noticed, so please forgive me. Okay, so have a think about this question. Cold calling. The base of each of these triangles is equal. Explain why the area of the triangles is also equal. Have a think about it, and then when you're ready, click and you'll see my answer. Okay, so if you're ready to click, the areas are the same because the perpendicular height is always the same in those diagrams. That would be my answer. Okay, let's move on. We might be moving on to our gold learning of compound shapes next. And here we are. That was fortunate. So what did we do before? Compound shapes, finding the areas. I know. We split them up into two rectangles. We're going to use exactly the same procedures as we did before, but this time we're going to split the shape up into a rectangle and a triangle, now that we've got new learning about triangles. So, we split them up. There you go. There's my line. We've got area A, area B. Oh, there's a missing length there. I might need to think about that in a minute in that triangle for B. But let's see how we go. Oh, there it is, look, that length B. Think about it as we go. So, area of A, it's a rectangle, so it's nice and straightforward. 6 times 5 is 30 centimetres squared. Area of B, well, it's a half times my length B times the height. Well, the height's going to be straightforward, that's 5. All being well, you can see horizontally you've got a 10 across the bottom, a 6 at the top, so that length B must be 4. So you end up with a half times 4 times 5. 4 times 5 is 20, half of that is 10. So then, just as we did before with our compound shapes, we add them together to get 40 centimetres squared. I would strongly recommend copying that one down, but I've already gone forward, so there we go. You may have to go back and pause the video, or rewind it. Rewind? Right, so here's another shape, compound shape. Think about what we're going to do to try and find the area. We're going to split it into a rectangle and a triangle. Work out each area and then add them together. Now this diagram's quite fiddly, so I remember filling it in quite carefully. So we draw a line in there. We have a rectangle at the bottom and a triangle at the top. So there's my A to work out the area. There's my B. We are going to be missing one or two lengths, as you'll see. Well, the area of A is easy, it's a rectangle, so it's 13 times 4, 52 centimetres squared. Now for the triangle, we've got our base. Oh, we need this length here, that height, that perpendicular height, that little bit there. Well, can you see you've got 6 metres in the middle and 4 metres at the sides, so that little height there, half base times height, the base is still 13 and the height is 2. So you get 13 centimetres squared for the area of B, and then we add them together to get 65 centimetres squared. If you wish to, pause the video and pop that example down carefully. Don't miss anything out, especially the formula for the area of a triangle. Okay, this isn't one where we're going to add the shapes together. We're going to be thinking we've got one shape inside of another. We've got a big rectangle and we've got a triangle, and if we want the shaded area, we're going to not add them this time but subtract them. So the area of the rectangle, straightforward, 11 times 7, 77 centimetres squared. The area of the triangle, we've got a base of 4 and a height of 6, so that's half of base times height, half of times 4 times 6, which is 12 centimetres squared. So the shaded area is 77 minus 12, which is 65 centimetres squared. And again, if you want to pause the video if you wish to copy that down. Okay, here's another one. Ooh, no rectangles in sight. That's an 8, by the way, on the side on the right there that we can't see particularly well. Okay, we've got a big triangle and a little triangle. It's going to be worked in the same way as before though. We're going to work out the area of the big triangle on the little triangle and then subtract them. So the area of the big triangle, a half times a base times a height, which works out to be 60 centimetres squared. The area of the small triangle is a half times 5 times 4, base times height, which is 10 centimetres squared. So the shaded area is 60 minus 10, which is 50 centimetres squared. And I know what you're thinking. Give us some questions so we can practice. Well, you're in luck, but not yet. Try this question first. Copy it down carefully. Pause the video while you have a go at it. We're looking for the area of the shape that is purple. You've got 90 seconds to have a go, but copy the diagram first. Pause the video while you do that. Okay, if you're ready, let's see how I approached it. We've got the area of the rectangle, that's the outside, 12 times 9, which is 108 centimetres squared. Now we've got to find the area of the triangle. It's a half times the base times height. Your base could be 8 and your height could be 5, but I've put them the other way around, which is 20 centimetres squared. Again, we have redundant information. We do not need that 9.4 centimetres. So the purple section, the purple area is 108 minus 20, which is 88 centimetres squared. Pause the video again if you wish to copy that down. Great news. Here are 6 questions for you to work through. Definitely need to draw the diagrams and work through them methodically and carefully. Definitely pause the video. Right, let's have a look, see what your answers were, see if I got them right, compare our answers together. There's my 6 answers. There's a metres squared missing on the bottom in E. It should be 6,800. It doesn't look right at all. Mark A, B, C, D and F. I think it's 68.90. It's right, let's go through it. It's 91 take away 22.5. And the answer should be in metres squared. So we just get ourselves checking that. We've got 91 take away 22.5, 68.5 metres squared. I'm not quite sure why the units are all gone all over the place there. So E, just to clarify, 68.5 meters squared, but the others, they're correct. Okay, so let's move on. Here's an extension question. This is an exam question. You might want to draw the diagram. Shown is the plan of a small field. Thomas is going to keep some chickens in the field. Each chicken needs 5 square meters. It's a kind of a sort of social distancing, I think. Work out the greatest number of chickens that Thomas can keep in the field. It's worth 3 marks, so draw the diagram, think carefully how you're going to work through it. Pause the video while you do that. Okay, let's have a little look, see how I did it. It's a compound shape, so I find the area by splitting the shape. That's the way I did it. We have 6 meters for that distance there, across the top. 7 meters for that distance for it to work, to be careful, to be clear. So let's go from there. So the rectangle is 14 times 18, which is 252 square meters. The triangle will be half times base times height, half times 7 times 6, or 6 times 7, which is 21 square meters. So we add them together and we get 273 square meters for his total area of Thomas's field. To find the number of chickens, we've got to divide that figure by 5 because each chicken needs 5 square meters, which gives us 47.6. It's very tempting to put so he can keep 48 chickens, but actually he can't because he doesn't have, even though it's that 47.6 is 48 to the nearest whole number, he hasn't got enough room for 48 chickens. So here we need to be careful that we round down so that he can keep 47 chickens safely. Okay, let's review our learning. So, those on the right hand side are 3 questions that check whether you've confirmed your learning for bronze, silver and gold. Pause the video while you have a go at those, please. Okay, so let's move forward. Let's have a look, see if you got them correct. 14 centimeters squared for the bronze, 10 meters squared for silver, and I worked it out to be 135 centimeters squared for gold. If you got that right, really, really well done. Move to the next slide. Well done. Now remember to go back and do your Hegarty maths work. Please make sure you watch the videos and do any questions that Mr. Hegarty asks you during the videos, and then answer the questions on the quiz. You're much more likely to get things right. But well done. Next lesson, see you again soon.